So, ladies and gentlemen, in the modern era of Western politics, there has never been a party leader that led by 29 points in the polls 4 months before an election and eventually lost the lead and was behind by 4 when the election was consummated. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, PP, as I call him, Pierre Poilievre, Preston Manning's spiritual grandson who worked for Preston Manning when the Reform Party started, lost the election. He was, they were predicting they were going to win 225 seats. We're going to sweep pretty much all of the major, what he call provincial PC areas. But what happened? Mark Carney, Justin Trudeau quit. Mark Carney came in. Donald Trump was elected. Basically, here we have it, dropping in the polls. And let me put this in perspective. And there's many polls, and people are saying, well, don't believe the polls. Okay, let's put this in perspective. On December 16, 2024, one of the best polling companies in Canada, Main Street Research, okay, the Conservatives were at 48%. The Liberals were at 19%, and the NDP was at 15%. The Bloc was at 8%. He was ahead by 29 points. He was trending for at least 235 seats. Now, as we got closer, ladies and gentlemen, by March 31st, Liberals were ahead by 3. The NDP was down to 9. The Bloc was down by 5. And Main Street basically kept it all the way through, leading by 3, leading by 4, yada, yada, yada. Now, before the election, they were predicting 44-41, which is pretty well close to how it finished. The polls did not lie. Now, the idea about leading by 29 points, it takes a whole bunch of negativity to cause the loss. Now, Donald Trump started talking about the 51st state, but Pierre Poilievre had an opportunity to get the points back in the standings. But the problem is the women over the age of 55 across Canada, the Maritimes, no PC, Premier Daniel Smith, Ford, Nova Scotia, whatever, gave him no support. So how did Pierre Poilievre lose? And he lost his seat. No opposition party leader in an election has ever lost his seat like this. The only loss, it's a strong minority government in Canada, and basically the only reason why he lost is because they said he was using all Trump's talking points, and when Trump was saying 51st state and tariffs and all that, people basically said whatever. Now, at the debate, when Mark Carney said, "You wish that Justin Trudeau was here, I'm not Justin Trudeau," true words could have been spoken. Mark Carney has never run for political office before. This is a neophyte. Leader of the Bank of England, the Bank of Canada. If you look at a lot of bills dated 2010 that were published, Mark Carney, who is a business leader, is on it. How bad was Pierre Poilievre's campaign? We're 2 days past. How bad was it? Let me put this in perspective. Newfoundland was a place where the Conservatives made a breakthrough early in the election. He did virtually no campaigning over there. Parts of Ontario where he should have campaigned, and parts of Quebec he should have campaigned, he didn't do it. Instead of doing a massive rally right before the election in Ontario or battleground Quebec, where he had to pick up at least 20 seats, he was going safe in Alberta. We knew Alberta was going to go completely blue, except I think for 2 seats. Now, as it stands right now, at 169 seats, they only need Elizabeth May and 2 NDP the balance of power will be in 2 years. But would I recommend Pierre Poilievre stay on? No. Okay? But like when you say Alberta, we're going to separate if the Conservatives don't win the election. They don't support Pierre Poilievre. How the hell is Alberta going to separate? It'll be a landlocked country. You won't be allowed to join the states, and the Indians in Alberta will stop any type of separation, just like the Cree in northern Quebec said the same thing in 1995. So again, I'm going to give you a new award. It's the Governor's Stupidity Award for 2025. Pierre Poilievre, he can speak well. He can chew the apple with the best of them to intimidate a journalist. Ezra Levant, his old pal from back in the day, Rebel News, was trying to help him out, and he's still fucked up. He had all these people across Canada mad at Justin Trudeau. Okay? He was flying. Some polls had him up by 30, 35 points. The Liberals, I think, at one poll was down to 12 points. 12! He went from 12 to 44. 32-point swing in less than 3 or 4 months. It makes absolutely no sense. So, give you this perspective. I've covered pretty well every election across Canada, municipal in New Brunswick, provincial elections in New Brunswick, and on a federal level, and some provincial elections over there. All my friends and family that saying Conservative, he stole the vote because he used a pencil instead of a pen. No. In New Brunswick, 6 of the seats went Liberal in all the Liberal strongholds, and all the in the new riding in Miramichi, which had the boundaries for 3 former core ridings, as a new riding, the expansion, the Conservatives still won it. They were strong in New Brunswick. They were strong in parts of Ontario. Look at Windsor. But where he needed to win the battleground seats, he couldn't take them. He should have campaigned more in Quebec. He has no Quebec lieutenant. There is no Conservative Party of Quebec. There is no Conservative Party. There's no adjunct. And another thing, too, a lot of people you don't know, he's not a Conservative. He's a merged candidate, came out of Reform and the Canadian Alliance, that merged with the National PCs. He's never been a progressive Conservative. He's been kind of a Preston Manning clone. And ironically, when Preston Manning come up and said, well, if you don't win the election, we're going to separate, that turned off a lot of voters. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Trudeau-mania is still around. Not Justin Trudeau. There was a lot of people voted this election who maybe voted for the first time in 1968 for Pierre Trudeau, and they're still living. There's a lot of beautiful women who were 18 years old in 1968 in her 70s now. They weren't going to vote for Pierre Poilievre because they see him as another Trump. Again, all the talking points. And another thing, too, defunding the CBC. No offense. How fucking stupid are you going to be? Do you think in outports in rural Canada that want the CBC that's going to get any votes? Like, what is defunding the CBC going to do? You think that's going to stop the CBC? There might be a billionaire come in. Maybe Ryan Gosling or Ryan Reynolds will be throwing out maybe millions of dollars to keep it going. I mean, maybe a Eugene Levy's going to sell over his rights to SCTV or Schitt's Creek to keep it going. Defunding the CBC, only 10% of CBC is news. By the way, what's a right-wing's favorite show? Heartland, okay? CBC still supports hockey in Canada, the Olympics, sports. You got all kind of different regional news programs. Some places, this is the only news they get because most of the weeklies in the Maritimes have been taken apart by the National Post Group. So Pierre Poilievre, my first annual stupidest politician of the year award for 2025, you'll be getting his Nobel Prize in the mail. Chewing a apple and trying to make fun of a media member don't win your prime minister. You got to have enough support from the provincial wing of your party. But again, there is no provincial wing of the Conservative Party across Canada. They're all fucking PCs. Do you get me? There's no red Tories in the Conservatives. You need red Tories. You need people that will vote for a red Tory. By the way, I was at the Meductic fundraiser for the fire department the weekend before. Richard Brangdon, the National Conservative MP for my riding, and the former Premier of New Brunswick, David Alwood, who's PC, they never talked to each other. If they did, I didn't see it. So one was on one table as a PC, and the guy was a Conservative at another table. Poilievre never tried to establish a Conservative wing of the party. The closest things he got was Blaine Higgs in New Brunswick. He should have said to the PCs who were supporting it, change your name, call yourself the Conservative Party in New Brunswick, or whatever. Did he do that? No. He might still win the election if the minority government comes down, but no offense, ladies and gentlemen. The idea of a minority government, you get a lot more done. The only reason we have Medicare in Canada is because when Tommy Douglas was holding the governments up. So, ladies and gentlemen, Pierre Poilievre, again, to many he's a smart person, but when you think you're smarter than what you are, like I said, he presented himself poorly. And how the fuck can you lose a 30-35% advantage in the polls with all the money behind the Conservative Party and still lose? It's not just Donald Trump, it's Pierre Poilievre. Do you see through him? Pierre Poilievre wishes to be Donald Trump because Donald Trump is a manipulator. Poilievre's not a manipulator, he's a fucking egotist. And a stupid one at that. So, ladies and gentlemen, there will be no comments allowed in this podcast because, as we like to say in Northern New Brunswick, never cry shit wolf. You're not going to cry shit wolf. Oh, he's it's a bunch of pencils made him lose and all that. The ridings were so close. By the way, the convoy crackpots holding those people under in Ottawa, why do you think Poilievre lost? Do you think everybody supported the convoy crackpots? Of course not. If you want to win something, you got to work from start to finish. It's a marathon. It's not a 10,000 meters and then you hold up. This ain't no fucking Sebco Steve Ovett quick race. This is a fucking marathon. By the way, Canada's not a country. It's a concept. The world needs more Canada. It doesn't. And Pierre Poilievre has never been a Canadian because he's been basically anti-Canadian from the start. Okay? He's always been like that. And like I said, yeah, Justin Trudeau was incompetent, but Poilievre was more incompetent because as bad as Justin Trudeau was, the Liberals still won when he replaced him. Okay? Who's the incompetent one? The incompetent one that was Prime Minister or the one incompetent that just basically said, I'm going to win easy? You never give up. As Ken Dryden once said, never underestimate your opponent. Have a good one.